Hello, YouTube world. My name is Tony. I am a massive fan of Survivor. I wanted to make a video of all 43 seasons ranked from my opinion and my perspective. I have started watching Survivor only as recently as May of 2021, so I've actually watched all 43 seasons in the last year and a half. It's become one of my favorite TV shows of all time, and I've been ranking them on a little note on my iPhone for the past year and a half, and I thought maybe I should make a YouTube video and see if random people on the internet care, would like to hear from it. But yeah, as of right now, as of a couple days ago, the season 43 finale just aired, so I'm now all caught up and wanted to give it my take on the show as a recent and new super fan of the show. My rankings that I have are pretty standard from a lot of internet rankings, S through D. D tier means it's a bad season of Survivor. Usually means I didn't like anything about it. C tier means it's okay. Means it was an entertaining season, but it wasn't necessarily good in my mind. Typically, most of the C tiers are seasons I won't even be rewatching. But moving on from that would be B tier, which is good. So a good season would be any season with a good cast, any interesting gameplay. Seasons that I would be up to S would be rewatching. A tier means it's great. S tier means it's excellent or legendary. It's beyond great. These are exceptional seasons and ones that most fans would agree are very good seasons. So those are my rankings, and I'm just going to jump right into it. My first season on the list is at number 43, Survivor Thailand. This season's very bad. The cast is boring. The gameplay is boring. It was painful for me to get through the season. It actually was work. I will never rewatch this season again. It was awful. That's all I have to say. D minus. Next on this list is number 42, which would be season 30, Worlds Apart. The twist to this season, or the gimmick, is that you have three tribes. You have white collar versus blue collar versus no collar, all competing against each other. The cast is very not fun. There's one star in the season that I really enjoyed watching their gameplay and them perform, but besides that, I really disliked this cast. There's just a lot of verbal abuse and negativity on the season. It was just awful all around. And the online community actually ranks this a lot higher than as low as I have it, but we all have our own opinions. I thought it was the 42nd best season out of 43. I'm giving that a D minus. Next at number 41 is season 39, Island of the Idols. This season has an interesting twist. There's two legends of the game come back to mentor new players, and I actually really enjoyed that twist, and it was fun to watch these two returning players come back and mentor the new people. The reason why the season sucks, without spoiling it, is that one person completely ruins this season and does some things that are very wrong, and I can't really get into it without spoiling it, but yeah, the season actually was enjoyable, and it actually has a pretty good cast and fun gameplay, but one person alone literally ruins the season, and it's a season that most people rank really low. So I'm giving this a D. Number 40 is going to be season 24, Survivor One World. This is a season where the tribes are split by men versus women, and they all have to live on the same beach together. This season, I don't want to waste too much time in these lore seasons. Bad cast, boring gameplay. There's some interesting episodes, but it's just a bad season overall, giving it a D. Number 39 is Survivor Nicaragua, season 21. This is old versus young. I will say a lot of people rank this very low, and though I have it ranked very low, it's so bad that I kind of enjoyed it a little bit because it's just so awful that you kind of laugh at it. And, I can appreciate that. So I'm going to give it a D. So number 38 on the list here is Survivor Redemption Island season 22. You have two returning cast members on the season, each leading a tribe of new people. It's there's some entertaining episodes on this season, but without spoiling it, I'm just going to say that it just isn't a good season. If you're a fan of some of the returning players, this might be higher in your ranking depending on where you land with the two that return. But yeah, a lot of the cast I really didn't enjoy, and there's some very boring episodes. I'm going to give it a D plus because I do like one of the returning cast members. I actually like both of them, but I do like one of them more than the other. Number 37 is one of the newer seasons, Survivor 41. This is the first seasons after the pandemic, and this kind of kicks off the new era we're currently in of Survivor. This season has so many different twists. There's now 26 days compared to 39. And even though some of these twists were entertaining and fun to watch, this season just is not good. It's just, I don't even know how to describe it. There's just a lot of negativity in this season. A lot of the cast just seem, it's just not a fun season. And I just didn't like it. Not a fan of it. I will give it a C-. So it was an okay season. Next up is number 36, which is Survivor Vanuatu season 9. This is another season of men versus women. Overall, a pretty boring season. It gets a little bit more interesting after the merge. The final 3 episodes are actually, well, maybe 3 or 4. I can't remember exactly, but the final stretch of episodes on the season are actually entertaining and fun. But if most of the season is not good and then the final 3 episodes are entertaining, it's going to fall for me as a C on this list. Number 35 is Survivor Guatemala season 11. There are 2 returning cast members from season 10 that each lead a tribe of new people on here. Interesting thing about this season is it's a brutal season. I mean, they really put the survivors through some hard tests in this. I mean, in the first episode, there's people passing out and throwing up, so it's kind of not fun to watch. Overall, though, I just wasn't super entertained by the season. I liked some of the cast on this season, and some of the episodes were entertaining, but it's a C-tier season to me. Number 34 on my list is Survivor Season 38, The Edge of Extinction. The twist of this season is that cast members who get voted out go to this island and they just wither away. It's a little bit different than Exile Island, and they have a chance of getting back in the game later on. I won't share more details on that without spoiling it. The twist sucks in this season, quite frankly, and a lot of people don't like it. There's a couple absolute stars in this season. I do want to mention there's actually 4 returning cast members, 2 returning cast members on each tribe with new people, and I do like majority of the returning people on the season, but one of the new cast members is an absolute star, and I really enjoyed watching them. But besides that, it's going to be a C-tier season. Next up, number 33 is Survivor Season 36, Ghost Island. The twist on this season is, can you reverse the curse? So Survivor contestants in this season have a chance of finding old artifacts from other seasons, and if they use them correctly, it's like they're reversing the curse. So there's a lot of callbacks to old seasons on this. If you're watching the show for the first time, you'll get spoiled like crazy if you watched a season recently. But overall, there's a couple really strong cast members in this season, and the rest are very boring, and it's just not that fun of a season. The ending is absolutely incredible. I will say that it's such a boring season. The ending alone bumped it up a couple spots for me. It's probably one of the most crazy endings to any season ever, without spoiling it. But that to me it's an okay season. It's a C tier. Next up is Survivor Karamoan season 26. This is fans versus favorites 2. So we have a handful of returning players against a handful of new players. Half of the returning players, I don't even know how they're considered favorites. It's really a questionable cast. Some of the returning players I love. Some of them I don't even know why they're in this season. They're not entertaining or favorites at all. There's some pretty hard episodes to watch with mental health of certain cast members. And it's just there's a couple really good episodes around the merge that are really fun to watch. But besides that, it's okay. It's a C tier. Season 31, Survivor South Pacific. You're hearing a lot of themes here that Survivor does, but this season has 2 returning cast members leading tribes of new people. The returning cast members, both of them, I'm super fans of. I'm huge fans of both these people, but this season just kind of falls flat. It's hard to talk about without spoiling it, but it's just not a good season. I wanted more out of some of the returning cast members on the season, and it just was boring at times. There's some very interesting and entertaining episodes, but the ending was disappointing to me. So C tier, it's okay. Number 30 on my list, Survivor Gabon season 17. There isn't really much to talk about in the season, other than this is a hot mess. This is the season that most Survivor fans will agree is an absolute hot mess. The cast doesn't know what they're doing. They don't seem to really know how to play the game. They're super whining and complaining. There's just a lot of just kind of reality TV aspects to this that it's a season that people either love or hate. I'm indifferent on it. I'm going to give it a C tier, number 30. Number 29 on my list is Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers, season 35. This has the cast members of heroes, healers, and hustlers. It's a very weird theme, but they're all in tribes competing against each other. This season gets ranked a lot lower than where it is on my list. I actually thought the post-merge was a pretty fun season to watch, and the actual last couple episodes were very entertaining. It's just I am not a huge fan of most of the cast. I do like some of them, but it's just okay. There's nothing else to say. It's not a good season, but it's not bad. Putting it at a C tier. Number 28 is Survivor of the Amazon. This is the original men versus women season. They've done 3 of them, and this is the original one. Yeah, it's a very fun season to watch. It's pretty entertaining. I enjoyed it. I can't say that I liked it to the point where I'd give it a B tier, but there's some really good cast members on the season that I enjoyed that I wish would return more. But one of them even has started a podcast, which is my favorite Survivor podcast. So for that person alone, I'm ranking this higher. This would be a C+. It's almost good. I'm just not ready to say it's completely good. Number 27 is season 29, Survivor San Juan del Sur. This is the second Blood versus Water season. This has family members competing against each other. So this season, with describing it in a way without spoiling it, it's a pretty boring pre-merge. I do really like some of the cast members on the season that I'm a big fan of. The final handful of episodes are pretty darn entertaining, and I think the winner plays a really great game. And I'd also put it at C+. This is a season that I think is good, but I don't feel comfortable enough saying that it's good, so it's a C+. Number 26, Survivor Africa season 3. I have a nostalgia for this season, and I ranked it this high for one reason only. This might sound weird to anyone watching it, but this actually was my first season of Survivor I ever watched. When I moved in with my current roommates a year and a half ago, they were watching the seasons in chronological order, and I just kind of intercepted and came in at this moment, which was season 3. The cast is fun to watch in this season. There's a lot of really strong personalities. The problem with this season is that they just are. I would probably say this might be one of the most brutal seasons. I mean, they are literally just like starving and withering away in a desert, so there can be some pretty boring episodes. I just have nostalgia because this is the first complete season of Survivor I saw, and it was funny because I hadn't seen any really great seasons yet. So the fact that I enjoyed this season and it made me want to watch more, I think I'm going to put it at number 26, and I'm going to give it a C+. Number 25 is the original season of Survivor Borneo. Anyone watching this on the internet is probably angry at me right now because every list I've read ranks it higher than this. I respect it. It's the first season. Survivor is really kind of trying to figure itself out in this season, and it's a slow paced season, and I felt pretty darn bored for a chunk of it. I think I really respect some of the players and like a lot of them in the season. It's just Survivor didn't really was in its infancy here, so I just truly wasn't as entertained as I wanted to be. But out of respect and out of the nostalgia of it being the first season, I'm going to put it at a C+ at number 25. And going forward now, these are all seasons that I'm probably going to be rewatching at some point. So we're going to be entering the B tiers now, and starting with that is Survivor Season 4 Marquesas. This season has probably one of the most legendary Survivor players of all time. This is their first appearance in this season. The cast was very fun to watch. The merge and post-merge episodes are very entertaining, and overall, there's some good gameplay in this season. I really love the location of Marquesas. It's a very unique location, and I enjoyed the season. I would say it was a good season. I'm going to put it at a B-. Number 23 is Survivor Kaôh Rōng, season 32. This is the theme of the season is beauty versus brain versus brawn. This is the second time they've done it, and it's a pretty solid cast. There's some pretty good strategic gameplay. There's some interesting twists in the season that are introduced for the first time, and it also has the most medevacs out of any season ever. So there are some pretty hard episodes to watch, and it's a brutal season of Survivor. I mean, some of these people really put through the ringer on it. Overall, it's a solid season, pretty well paced. Cast is entertaining, gameplay is entertaining. I'm going to put it at a B-. Number 22, season 14, Survivor Fiji. This season is interesting. It kind of is a season that foreshadows what the current seasons post season 40 are like. A lot of similar. There's a lot of just twists and turns. There's a lot of things that the producers kind of throw at it, and in a way, it kind of is similar to the seasons that we're currently watching right now. And it's hard to say it without spoiling it, but it's a season that I think was a little bit ahead of its time, and I think the producers were trying to do a little too much with it. But with that being said, some of the cast members in the season are very entertaining to watch. The gameplay is pretty fun. It's a pretty good season. I mean, it's an enjoyable season. The winner plays a good game. I would give it a B-. Next up is number 21 on my list, which is Survivor Game Changers, season 34. This season has a cast of all returning players coming back, noted as game changers. So these are people who usually had made big moves or big splashes in previous seasons. The controversy with this season is that probably half the cast aren't game changers at all. And you're like, why are 10 of these people even on the season? So the gimmick, if it was rebranded as something different, I think this season would get a more positive reception. A lot of people rank it very low. I think this has probably one of the most entertaining pre-merges of all time of any season. The season kind of slows down after the post-merge, but some of the cast members on the season are my all-time favorite cast members, so I'm giving it a B-. Number 20 is Survivor Australia Season 2. This season has the most people come back to ever play a second time or third time or even fourth time for that matter, if I'm correct on that. But this is a very good cast. It's slow paced like the first one, but the cast is so good that it's just enjoyable to watch. One of Survivor's most famous contestants comes from this season. If you're going to watch Survivor, it's an important season to watch because there's a lot of people that come back to play future games after this one. I'm going to give it a B-. It's a good season. Number 19 and season 19 will be Survivor Samoa. This season has probably one of the most infamous Survivor contestants of all time's debut. Watching them and their antics and how they stirred the pot in this season was incredibly entertaining. This specific cast member completely changed the game and how they competed and played it. And for that alone, I ranked it this high. But the one issue with this is that so much of the camera time is focused on this one person that it kind of falters there. So it could have been better, but it's so entertaining to watch. I'm going to say that it's a good season. Number 18 is Survivor Panama Exile Island. This is the first time the Exile Island twist is ever implemented in the game. This is where after certain challenges, people are sent to this island where they are by themselves and they have a chance at finding an advantage in the game in the form of an immunity idol. And one of Survivor's all-time legends debuts in this season. So watching them in this early season, you don't really see them reach their full potential until some of the returning times that they come back. But it's an enjoyable cast. The gameplay's fun. There's an absolute challenge beast in the season that just crushes it in the challenges. So watching them compete is really fun. So I'm going to put that at a B. It's a good season. Number 17, Survivor All-Stars Season 8. These are all the most famous contestants from seasons 1 through 7 coming back, and it's the first ever all-returnee season. This season's ranked usually very low on a lot of people's lists, and there are some very uncomfortable bad things that happen to some contestants in this season, and there's just some really heavy emotional things that take place. There's a lot of bitterness in the jury. This is the most bitter final jury ever. It's kind of almost a little bit ridiculous, but I rank it this high because I thought it was an entertaining season. I really liked the returning cast members of this, and I think it's one of the most important seasons in Survivor in the sense that there's certain gameplay elements and certain alliances that happen in the season that kind of change the game for the rest of the show that gets referenced a lot. So if you're looking to watch majority of the seasons, this is just a very important season, and I enjoyed it. There's some episodes that are hard to watch and hard to stomach, but I think it's a B tier and a good season. Number 16, I'm putting Survivor Palau. This is season number 10. Very entertaining season. Some of the cast members are very fun to watch. I can't say a lot without spoiling it, but this is probably one of the most unique pre-merge set of episodes I've ever seen in Survivor. What ends up happening is never duplicated again. I can't say it without spoiling it, but it's very entertaining to watch the two tribes compete, and what ends up happening with those two tribes is pretty historic with Survivor, and it's an overall a pretty solid, good season with some really entertaining cast members. I'm giving it a B+. It's good. It's almost great, but not quite great in my mind. Number 15 is going to be Survivor 43, the season that literally ended 2 days ago as of the time of this recording. Survivor 43 is a solid top 15 season in my mind. I think it has a really good cast. The first half of the season's pre-merge is a bit slow and boring at times, but the cast has so entertaining to watch that some of the episodes are fun. The post-merge is still pretty slow, but it's fun to watch. But what literally makes me put it top 15 is I think like the final like 2 episodes are so good, and I can't say what happens without spoiling it, but those final 2 episodes are so good that it literally bumped it like 5 spots in my rankings. So it's a really fun new season of Survivor, and I really enjoyed watching it. I'm going to give it a B+. Number 14 is Survivor China, season 15. An amazing cast, very fun, likable cast. One of the most unique locations. It's in China. Most of Survivor seasons are like in Fiji or in some kind of tropical location. I mean, these people are pretty much like in the jungles of China, and some very memorable episodes, some very memorable contestants that come back to play later. The final tribal is very entertaining. It's a very good season. Not quite great in my mind, but I'm going to give it a B+. Number 13 is Survivor 42. This is one of the more recent seasons as well. This cast is very fun to watch, and they're very entertaining. I feel like I've said that a lot in this video, but there are a lot of good casts in Survivor. The reason why I ranked this so high is that this was filmed back to back after season 41, and 41 was so bad, and then to have this happen and have this be good, it paints it in a more positive light. The pre-merge is a little slow. The post-merge is very fun to watch, and like there's just a slew of like 4 episodes that are just absolutely awesome that I really enjoyed. And overall, I thought it was a great season, and I'm going to give it an A-. Survivor 42. If you're a new fan and want to watch one of the newer seasons, I'd recommend this one. Number 12 is Survivor Blood vs. Water, season 27. This is the first time they did it, Blood vs. Water. The other time was San Juan del Sur, like I mentioned earlier. This is returning. This time, though, it's returning cast members competing against family members, where season 29 is actually just all new people competing against family members. The this game in general is just a very good season in the sense of it's so hard to say it without spoiling it, but yeah, I really like some of the returning cast members. One of my favorite returning cast people of all time is in this season, and watching them do strategy and kind of play a prominent role in the season was really fun for me to watch. And it's just entertaining through the whole thing. Like it didn't ever really feel slow for me. So I'm going to give Blood vs. Water an A-. Number 11 is Survivor Philippines, season 25. This has 3 tribes split into 3, and each tribe is actually led by a cast member who had been medevaced in a previous season. So it's a very interesting twist. But this is one of those seasons where you have returning tribe members lead new people, and the new people are actually really fun to watch and competitive. Usually where there's returning cast members coming back leading new people, usually they just dominate and it's just not fun to watch. Everyone here is playing hard. Very good overall strategy going on in the season. I was rooting for so many different people to win this season. It just was great from top to bottom. So I'm giving Survivor Philippines a solid A. Number 10 is Millennials versus Gen X, season 33. It's in the title. The tribes are split by Millennials versus Gen X, and it is a very entertaining season. I thought the cast was very fun to watch on both tribes. Millennials were more entertaining than the Gen Xers, but some of the Gen Xers had an amazing story arc in their gameplay. People usually don't put this in the top 10, but I think it's a top 10 season. It's very entertaining all the way throughout. I had multiple people, just kind of like Philippines, that I was rooting for to win this season, and it's a great season. I'm going to give it an A. Number 9, Survivor Tocantins, season 18. This is the last time Survivor ever did 16 contestants in a season, I believe. In the early seasons, they did 16 contestants a lot. From going forward, it's always at least 18 to 20. So this is kind of the last old school type season, even though it's an HD, but the cast here is awesome. And some of the people on the season are some of my favorite contestants of all time from Survivor, and they come back to play multiple times, so you'll be seeing them again in other seasons. It's just entertaining, and all the different antics some of these people get in, and some of the stories some of the cast members tell are very entertaining as well, and some of the things they claim they did in their life is just ridiculous. And it's one of those seasons where there's not a lot of crazy strategy or gameplay, but you just like the cast so much that you just enjoy watching them on camera. So giving this season a solid A. Season 8 is Survivor Cook Islands. Number 8 on the list, but season 13, Survivor Cook Islands. This is they do a crazy twist on this. They divide the tribes by race. They have African Americans versus Asians versus Latinos versus white people. It's a crazy twist idea. I don't know what they were thinking when they decided to do this, but it actually works, and the cast is phenomenal. The gameplay is incredible. There's some episodes in the season that were so fun to watch. The finals is amazing. The final tribal council is so good. I was really rooting for a certain person to win this season, and I was happy with the winner, but I really wanted the other person to win it that didn't win it. But either way, it's just such a great season. One of my favorite cast members of all time comes from the season, and a lot of returning people come back. Not a lot. I think there's like 4 people from the season come back to play, but some of them are absolute Survivor legends. So Cook Islands is a solid A season. Number 7 on my list is season actually 37, not 33. That's a typo. It's Survivor David versus Goliath. It is an absolute great season, A+. It has an amazing cast. So many fun things about the season. There are a lot of people on the season that just have fun alliances. There's so many like cool alliance names. You got the Rock Stars, you got the Mason Dixon Alliance, you got the Brochachos. It's just fun. It's just a fun season. One of the best all new casts ever. Great strategy, amazing gameplay. There's a couple of tribal councils that happened that I was just like roaring. It's a really fun and great season to watch. So Survivor Dave versus Goliath is almost an S tier. I would say it's an A+. Number 6 is season 7, Pearl Islands. This season has 2 of some of the most famous contestants of all time debuting in this season who come back to play it multiple times. Probably one of the most infamous villains of all time comes from this season, and watching their antics and some of the things that they come up with is super entertaining. Morally, I don't agree with it, but it is entertaining to watch nonetheless. I just rank it this high because it's such a good season, and for being an early season, and it's in the first 7 seasons. They're usually pretty typically slower, but man, this season, for how good it is, it deserves to be ranked high for how old it is and how good it is. So I'm going to give Survivor Pearl Islands an A+. Number 5, cracking into the top 5, is Survivor Cambodia Second Chances. The casting twist on this season is all the cast were voted in by fans. So you can only imagine that the cast is going to be great, and it is. So everyone playing on the season had only played once prior, and they got voted in by the public to get a second chance. The strategy in the season is so insane. It's almost kind of hard to follow at times. It's some of the most elite gameplay comes from this season. There's a moment, I think, at some point where there's like everyone is at least in like 2 or 3 different alliances, and you're trying to like figure out like wait, who's lined with who, because like everyone's kind of double playing everybody, and it's so fun to watch. It's an absolutely incredible season. I would argue the craziest tribal council of all time takes place in this season, and watching that, I mean, it was so crazy that Jeff had to get on a whiteboard and actually explain what happened, like doing play-by-play as if he's like a sportscaster. That it was that good. So yeah, don't watch this early on if you're trying to watch it in chronological order, but this is one of the greatest strategic games of all time in this, just by most of the cast members in the season. I'm not ready to say it's S tier. Maybe over time that will change. It's an A+. It's absolutely phenomenal. And now we're going to get into the S tiers, starting with Survivor Season 16, Micronesia Fans versus Favorites. This season is legendary. I mean, it is just very good. It's excellent. It's just incredible. The returning cast is great. The fans that are facing off against the All-Stars are very good. Come the merge, there's just from the merge on to like the final episode, it's just incredible TV. One of the most referenced moments in all of Survivor history takes place in this season. I don't want to say what it is to spoil it, but it is one of the most ridiculous things you'll ever see in all of Survivor, and it takes place in this season. And if you watch later seasons, they reference it all the time. Incredible strategy, great gameplay, great cast. I mean, it's an S tier. Enough said there. Number 3 would be Survivor Winners at War, Season 40. It's in the title. There's 20 winners that come back to play the game. And I mean, the cast is just great. There's a couple winners I didn't really care for, and there's a couple winners I wish that would have played in this, but when you get 20 winners of the game to play together, it's going to be an amazing season, and it was. Being careful not to spoil this season, I would say the greatest single game of all time takes place. Like, there's a specific cast member that plays the best game ever, and it's in Season 40, and watching that person play this game the way they do, it doesn't even come close to what they pull off. It's super fun to watch, very nostalgic. a lot of really famous cast members who've played multiple times, who have won. I mean, they're all winners, but some of them have played multiple times. So it's just so fun to see them again. Potentially, there's a lot of cast members that might never play again, and this is their final season. Top 3 season, S tier. Enough said. Number 2 would be Survivor Heroes vs. Villains season 20. This kind of encapsulates the golden age of Survivor, which a lot of people consider to be like either seasons 13 to 20 or 15 to 20, which are a really good set of seasons, except for like a couple. But yeah, this season is usually ranked number 1 in a lot of lists, and I'll explain why it's not number 1 when I get to my number 1. But it's an amazing season. I think it's probably the greatest set of just a cast ever in a Survivor season. So like just the combination of who they brought back for the season just was super fun to watch. Some of the best strategy ever happens in this season. It's literally from the first episode to the last. It's just amazing to watch. It's so entertaining. There's so many good moments in this season. There's crazy good gameplay. There's crazy bad gameplay. The cast members are really out here to play, and there's a lot of really good returning cast members. And some of my favorite players of all time are in the season. I've been saying that a lot. That's why some of these seasons rank higher. It's an S tier. Finally, number 1 on my list is Survivor Cagayan. And the reason why I don't put it at number 2 is because it's the only season I have in the S tier that has an all new cast. There's no returning people in the season. Usually returning seasons have higher watch value just because these people have played before, and usually when you get returning people together in a season, it's a lot more fun to watch. This season, though, Survivor Cagayan was the second season I've ever watched. Kind of going back to what I said before, when I watched season 3 with my roommates, they told me go watch Cagayan. Like that's like one of the craziest seasons, and this is the season that got me into Survivor. I mean, it is an incredible season for it being all new people and it being that good. I think it deserves to be over Heroes vs. Villains. I think Heroes vs. Villains has an advantage in the fact that they have such good returning cast members, but the fact that this season is as good as it is with all new people, I think it deserves to be number 1. My favorite Survivor contestant of all time is in this season. My favorite episode of Survivor of all times in this season, which is the finale. I would like to argue that I think Cagayan has the greatest finale of any Survivor season. I mean, the ending to that season was truly jaw-dropping to me. I couldn't believe what I was watching, how good it was, and I'm probably overstating how good it is, and I'm probably over-exaggerating, but this is the season that made me the Survivor fan that I am today, so I'm going to rank it number 1. But anyways, that's my ranking lists. Yeah, if you're watching this video on YouTube, please make some comments. Let's get a discussion going on what their rankings are. But those are all 43 seasons of Survivor up until this point. Season 44 is going to be airing next spring, so that looks like it's going to be a good season too, based on the preview. But overall, those are my 43 season rankings, and I thank you all for watching this video today.